Thank you for joining us at Beerfish Fanatics. And this episode is actually brought to you by Whisker Secret Tackle.
So make sure you guys go to whiskersecret.com for all your catfishing gear.
Enjoy the episode, guys. This episode is brought to you by Kalona Brewing Company. If you live in Eastern Iowa, make sure to swing by Kalona Brewing Company's tap room. Amazing food and amazing craft beer. If you live in Central Iowa or in the Midwest, swing by your local supermarket and see if they carry the Kalona Brewing Company line of beer. And also swing by your local restaurants, local bars, see if they have Kalona Brewing Companies on tap. If not, make sure you guys request it. I kid you not, you won't regret that. Other than that, enjoy this episode, guys. Everybody, welcome to another episode of Beerfish Fanatics. This is Grandy with My Pop Fishing. We got
Kit with the Fishing Kit YouTube channel.
And today we are going out of state. We have an out of state guest that's joining us. Miss Emily Grace is gracious enough to join us here, and she's going to give us the lowdown on fishing in Atlanta area, right? Atlanta, Georgia, is that where you're from?
Yeah, like Athens area, Georgia.
Perfect. There you go. So she's going to give us the lowdown in there, and then she's going to teach Fishing Kit and myself a little bit about kayak fishing, right?
Yeah. I mean, so I'm still kind of new to Georgia. I came from California, so I've only been here for about like 9 months-ish.
Okay.
Still learning a lot, but yeah. Do you want me to get started talking about Georgia fishing?
It's up to you. There's no
I've
rhyme.
never done this before.
No,
so you have to guide me.
Don't even worry. There's no rhyme or reason, Emily. We just love to have a good time and just drink beer and talk fishing. But quick shout out though to our sponsor, Kalona Brewing Company. I'm actually drinking the Kalona Light today. And what do you got, Kit?
Got the Aloha Iowa from Kalona Brewing Company. It's a pineapple Belgian style ale. I don't know. It's weird. Iowa, Aloha, Hawaii. I don't know what the connection is there, but it tastes good.
there you go. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
But Emily is being good. She's drinking H2O, but she's allergic to alcohol though. So
sponsored by Aquafina.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, no, we wanted you to get on because I've seen a lot of your social media and everything from Instagram to TikTok and everything. So, and then obviously you jumping into the kayak fishing world, and Fishing Kit and myself right now we're almost getting our kayaks out. We haven't even got it out yet because it's been so stupid windy. Like the weather has been horrendous for us in Iowa here. Like the wind and then rain and then wind and then it's just so. Hopefully here.
Where do you guys usually fish out of more? Out of boats? Do you do shore fishing? What's like your most primary?
Go ahead, Kit.
I do a lot of bank fishing. I used to kayak quite a bit up until this year, but like as Grandy was saying, the weather's been kind of windy or rainy. It was cold for most of the spring up until I'd say like 2 weeks ago. Then we just hit 90 degrees out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's also kind of like spring months are usually unpredictable with weather. You get like hotter days, windier days. Sometimes spring is like easy fishing weather, and sometimes it can be very hard because it's unpredictable. Like you'll go out thinking it's gonna be a cold day, it's cloudy, then the clouds will go away and it's clear blue skies. So, it changes really fast. I mean, well, at least out here in Georgia, it seems to do that.
So
but even when the weather sucks in the spring, the fishing can be really good.
Yeah, definitely.
What part of California you used to live? I'm just curious.
I used to live in like Los Angeles area, the suburbs of LA, like Valley girl. I'm apparently known to smack my gum when I chew gum. And I have to joke around and explain that I'm from California in the Valley. And I didn't realize like that was a cultural thing. But yeah, I'll chew my gum like I have to remind myself out here in Georgia not to do that.
Oh no.
But yeah, I'm from like Los Angeles, California. Very dry weather. Not a lot of trees or it's concrete jungle. So and then we're very limited on like lakes and such. So like out in California, I used to fish kind of near. There's one called Lake Casitas. I used to fish out a lot. I used to kind of try to keep it private because there wasn't a lot of lakes in California, and people were like, "Where are you fishing at?" And I'm like, you know, but you know, now I'm not in California anymore. Yeah, I'll tell people I fished at Lake Casitas. It's a big lake in Ojai Valley, and it's kind of the only lake that was out there. But you know, what's cool about that is you're committed to learn that lake, the ins and outs completely, like the location of bass and everything. You learn like the floor, the bottom of the structure of the floor of the lake, you know, all the points, you know, kind of where to start your day when you start fishing out there. So I got really good at that lake. And then, yeah. And then Georgia's a little bit more humbling. It's challenging. It's like kind of different, but yeah. So Los Angeles, California, that's where I lived my whole life, grew up. Yeah.
Well, the reason why I asked is I used to live in NorCal. I used to live in the Bay Area. I lived there for like 13 years. Yeah, and you know, fishing over there to me felt like it was a struggle because I didn't have a boat. I feel like out there in California, a lot of the lakes are bigger, and you need a boat. You need to have the access of a boat because I'm primarily a bank fisherman, and bank fishing out there was tough for sure.
It is tough because you're trying to bring fish to you, and a lot of times you're not able to do that because the fish are just way deep. And so if you can't get to the fish and you can't bring them there, you're going to go out there and waste your whole day skunking, and that is not fun. Or you could catch bait fish, you know, but yeah, it is hard. I mean, because like farm ponds and stuff, they're so much more prominent in you know, more of the country setting. There's more of those kind of ponds, so it's easier to, you know, bank fish those kind of ponds because you're able to access more territory and fish all around it. You know, Lake Casitas is very hard to fish off a bank, that's for sure. There used to be a dock I used to fish off of, and that's where I fell in love with fishing. I fell in love with fishing on a dock, and I used to bring my Trader Joe's tackle bag, and I used to wear gloves because I was too scared to touch fish. But it was like a personal challenge. I wanted to get good at it, so I would go every Saturday for like 8 to 10 hours. Jeez. And I committed that for a year. And I got bored of the dock. So I started, you know, because it's so easy to catch fish. But then I realized I was catching the same fish because there's one bass that would swim under the dock, and he had a blind eye. And I think I caught that fish like 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, hey, this one looks a little familiar. And so I realized, I'm like, you know, these fish are just hanging out here. So it's like, I want to search and find bass. I want to learn like a little bit more about their characteristics, their attitudes, like really pinpoint where they really are, you know, not just where they are habitating because of it's easy food for them. So they hang out under the dock, kind of looking out for them in the wild and really finding them. And then, you know, that bite is a lot more rewarding because it's like, I found you, you believed my lure, you thought it was a fish, and I brought you in. And that's like that. And as we know, like when it comes to fishing, like all of that is a huge reward, you know. And not to say like anything about technology, I'd love to learn fishing technology and stuff, but you know, when in doubt and you have no technology, it's always good to learn, you know, the bass and what the bass are doing at this certain time of year, what pond you're fishing at, lake you're fishing at, and things like that. And I'm still learning that stuff too. Like there's like a definite science that goes down to it. And so anyways, yeah, fishing in California off a dock slowly got a little bit boring for me. So I would move around and I wouldn't do so good in other areas, and it got frustrating. So like you said, you know, bigger lakes in California, it's hard to fish off the shore. So my only option was boat or kayak, and I didn't have 70 grand with me. So I just thought I'm going to rent a kayak. So I did that. And I'll tell you something, like fishing off a kayak is like, when I tell people never fish off a kayak, and they only do like boat fishing, it's like, you know, when you go camping in an RV, you're like in nature and it's fun, but you're in an RV, right? And you have all the luxuries and you have all the security of being in an RV, but it's like camping in a tent. You're a little bit closer to nature. You're a little bit more intimate. You know, you don't have a lot of space, so you're really segregating what's important and keeping it on the kayak, and you're just limited, just like you are camping in a tent kind of thing. And when a fish bites and it pulls you, you're going all over the place, and that's a whole different game. That's so much fun. And like, I'm only like 100 some pounds. So when a fish, like a big fish bites me and I'm in a light kayak, I will take off. And that that is so much fun. So yeah, I recommend kayaking for you guys, you know, and I don't know what the weather's like, but I know like early in the morning, the wind sometimes isn't coming in yet. So usually when I fish, like wind starts around like 10 o'clock ish.
Mm-hmm.
Gets really bad around 11, 12. But like in the early morning, it's usually more desolate and quiet. Like that would be like your best time to go out on a kayak and just like, don't even fish, just go out there and figure like paddle and find the spots you want to try. And then once you get used to the feel, then go out with your rods and everything like that.
For sure.
But yeah, it's fun. I love it. Gosh, I'm so addicted to it. I'll see myself like YouTubing so much. I learned so much off YouTube.
That's
But,
funny. It's funny how you were mentioning about the blind fish, because this guy says whenever I catch a fish, man, that one must be blind, dude. So I was
It's
like,
blind, or it's like wants to commit suicide or something.
yeah. He always says every time I catch a fish, he's like, man, whatever, dude. That's a blind fish, or yeah, that he just wanted to commit suicide. I was like, thanks, man.
But I do like your RV and boat analogy. That's like pretty much sums it up. I guess for me, I have been kayak fishing for I want to say like 6 years. So I mean, I have a Hobie now, so that's probably a on top of your truck tent. It's a little bit fancier.
Pop up. It's a pop up kit. That's what,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. We both got pedal kayaks, so I would say they're like they're definitely like pop up campers, I guess you could say.
Yeah, you guys have pedal. I haven't really used the foot pedal kayaks as much. I've tried it one time. I went to you guys said you had Christine Fisher on your show once, I think you said.
Yep.
She had a women's conference in Texas just like a few weeks ago, and I went to that. And I actually won a Hobie kayak with foot pedals in a raffle. And I didn't like, I couldn't believe it when they drew my number. I really didn't think I'd win that one, but it was cool. And they let me use it on the lake, and it was really cool because like that would be a really good way to defeat wind as well. You know, if you're not used to using like, you know, regular manual paddles or things like that. So a lot of people prefer that style. I think it really depends on where you're comfortable and what your primary like main source of strength is. Like some people are more leg strength, so they like to foot pedal. And then some people like the feeling of having control in the arms and like paddling. I learned paddling, so I use paddling right now, and that's like my main style. But I like the foot pedals too. But yeah, it's cool. It's definitely fishing from a kayak it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning all about it too. Like I don't know all of the tips and tricks.
I think we touched on this on a couple of our episodes before. We always talk like the one thing about the pedal kayaks is you get hands free. So it's I think because he sold me on it, because I've always had obviously a manual paddle kayak for like 6 years too. But then last year I finally, all right, I'll get the pedal kayak, because this guy goes, dude, just do it. And then I don't think I could ever go back, because at least the body of waters that we fish on, to have the ability to be hands free, I think it's just night and day. If we were to fish like the rivers, like river certified, like our buddy does, I think it'd be a little difficult, because then I don't think you can really use a pedal on there, because plus it's I think the areas that he fishes, sometimes they're shallower too, so you can't really have that propeller down or whatnot.
I think Hobie has those kick up fins on some of those kayaks. Like maybe it's like the newer ones, but I heard that they allow you to go a little bit shallower, because the fins will hit the bottom and they'll kick up a little bit, so you have that little bit more of a comfort level. It's not like you're crashing into rocks all of a sudden and your kayak is bouncing in the water and you're like, oh, I have to pull my paddle. No, it's cool that they have that technology now, honestly. And I think that the kayak fishing world is about to grow tremendously. I think in the next 5 years at least, it's going to grow tremendously. I mean, like, boat fishing is great, but I know gas and everything's going up, and just the process of getting the boat to the lake is it's a lot of work, and the maintenance on boats and stuff. And like I've never owned a boat, so I don't really know a lot about the maintenance of boats, but from what I hear, it is a lot of work and you have to be like truly dedicated to it. So if you just want to get out on the water, not be on the shore, but still go out, you know, a kayak is kind of like your happy medium. And I know a lot of people that are looking in that direction, even from a boat to just downsizing to a kayak for certain things. But yeah, and even on kayaks, you can throw a trolling motor on there and go super fast. I've seen those too. So it really depends on like what your style is, I guess. And I'm looking to maybe add some more upgrades on my kayaks, maybe even try a trolling motor on mine. Right now I'm pretty basic. Like I work with Crescent kayaks. And so I have one that's called like a CK1. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Crescent kayaks. They're
A little
based out
bit.
here in Georgia, yeah. And what I like about them is they're extremely light and accessible. So, you just pick it out of your, like, you can even throw it in your truck bed, just tie it down a couple times, and then just take it to the lake, and you can really dump it anywhere in the lake. You don't need to be at a dock. You can just dump it anywhere, which is cool. So like if you're fishing a tournament and you kind of already pre-fish and you know where you want to start, you don't need to go to the dock. You can kind of find yourself away, ahead of the game and just dip your kayak in and go. So like that's one good thing about it. And I also think like a beginner such as myself, it's easier to not have a lot of mechanics to, worry about like the maintenance and things like that. But I will say foot pedals, kayaks, definitely a game changer for hands-free because, trying that for the first time was definitely a different experience for sure. But yeah.
What's
I'm
the
sorry.
sorry. What's the biggest fish you caught on your kayak?
I think about 7 pounds. I have a video of it on my Instagram. I was actually at Lake Casitas. They have Florida straight bass there, so they're really big. And I was just, I was kind of moving my kayak to a different spot, but I had some lures in the water already. I had two drop shots going. And I was just moving my kayak just slightly because I felt my kayak drifting, and I was in a rental at the time. It was like a Pelican or something. And then my rod bent, and I was flipping out because I was already fish on, and my rod then was going crazy. Like this fish took my bait and he took off. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I was reeling him in, and I was actually in the middle of taking the hook out of his mouth, and it was about 4 pounds. And all of a sudden my other rod was like, the tip was literally under the water. And I wish I had a video that had the whole thing, but my rod tip was like pretty much in the water. And I was freaking out because I'm like, somebody hold my fish. And so thankfully there was a guy next to me, and I just said, can you hold my fish real quick? While I was trying to reel in this, and he held my fish, and I was reeling it in as fast as I could, trying to bring it to the boat. And I knew it was a monster because my boat was moving like crazy. I was going this way, I was going that way. The bass would stop and swim down and move out, and my kayak was going with it. So I just remember, and it was all on film. I was actually doing a TikTok live, and I was like freaking out, and my audience was like, oh my gosh, she's got another bass. And I brought it into the boat, and I lifted it up like this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a PP. I clipped it, and I was weighing it, and I was like sticking my fist in his mouth, like, oh my gosh, like my whole fist is in his mouth. And then I took a picture of both of them in my kayak, and I'm not kidding you, like this bass made the 4 pound bass look like bass food. It was like, it could swallow the whole thing full. It was crazy. And it's one of my, I think I have a picture on Instagram of me in this yellow kayak with the 2 bass. But that was so fun. I haven't really gone close to that here in Georgia. It's a little, I think out here I probably have gotten 5 pounds at most, maybe. Like a farm pond bass. But I haven't gotten my that's it bass yet. So hopefully.
So I was gonna say, I'm not trying to take anything away from your PB bass, but do you target catfish at all?
I actually, I've never really gone catfishing. I caught a catfish once on accident when I was hybrid fishing, and I was like, wow, this is the laziest hybrid. I was bringing in, it was this like little catfish, But that was the only time I ever caught a catfish. Never really gone catfishing before. I mean, I've gone once, but never successfully gone. But
Okay.
why do you
So
recommend it?
so I'm big into catfishing, and my favorite way to target catfish is in the kayak. Um,
Interesting.
Trolling baits for them. So I'm drifting in the wind, or I'm actually pedaling if there's no wind, because they will smoke a rod. And when you're talking about your rod's bent over in the water and your kayak's being pulled all over, you can pretty much get that all day with every single catfish you catch. I mean,
That's
granted,
awesome.
if you're catching, 5, 10, you could go up to 20, 30, 40, 50 pound catfish. I
That's
think
crazy.
I think Georgia has some pretty big catfish, probably bigger
They
than
do.
Iowa.
I don't know about like how big Iowa's catfish are, but I've heard, the locals talk about catfishing out here, and there's some big ones. Um, how do they fight? Do they fight pretty
And
aggressively?
Um,
it's go ahead.
blue cats, blue cats will, I'd say, when it comes to them hitting your rod, they probably hit the hardest, and they also grow the biggest. So
Yeah.
just from them being 20, 30, 40 plus
Now,
pounds or whatever.
I I don't like know a lot about catfish, so be gentle with me. But do you guys know Hannah Barron? Hannah Barron, she's like the
Yeah,
catfish
she
dealer.
noodles, she
She
Is
noodles.
that
noodles.
blue catfish she's catching?
I
Be
think it's mostly
specific about that.
Flatheads. Yeah.
flatheads.
Flatheads. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Those aren't in Iowa, are they?
We do
Flatheads.
have we
Hmm.
do have flatheads. We have channel cats, which I'd say pound for pound, channel cats probably fight the hardest, but they
Yeah.
don't get the biggest.
See, I think I caught the channel catfish. I think that's what somebody told me it was. I really don't know a lot about catfish. So I think this part of this part is interesting because I'm learning a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to get pulled around in the kayak, that is the fish to target, and you have potential to catch. Um,
What do you usually like? How would you rig up something for catfishing in a kayak?
so in a kayak, I like to use the Santee Cooper rig. It's basically you got your main line and you got a
Mhm.
sinker that's on the bottom, and there's a float on your leader, and then after the float, there's a hook. So basically, you're dragging the weight on the bottom, but that float is holding up your, let's say, circle hook
Yeah,
with a piece of cut bait, and you're dragging that on the bottom. And most people think, catfish lazy, whatever. You just throw out a line and just wait for 2, 3 hours. But this method is you're going to be targeting active fish, so fish that are moving around looking for stuff to eat.
yeah.
And in the kayak, if you're drifting or whatever, or paddling the kayak, once that fish hits, you just feel it before you even realize there's a fish there because your kayak just starts turning and you just hear stuff shaking because your rod's just going crazy.
That sounds like
So,
so much fun. I'll have to try that. Can I ask you a little bit about that rig? Because it sounds like a drop shot to me a little bit. Because I like the drop shot where you have the weight on the bottom, you have like you have your hook that sticks out, and then you have like a worm. That's your profile, so it
um,
sits straight up. Is that
It's
what it's kind of like?
actually, it's a little bit different because the weight is in line compared to the drop shot. So with the drop shot, you got your leader
Yeah.
at the bottom, and then it goes up to your hook, which is kind of like dangling off to the side, and then you'll have it attached to your main line or whatever, right?
Hmm.
So with the Santee Cooper rig, it's like a Carolina rig, pretty much. Do you know what a Carolina rig is?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so with the it's basically a Carolina rig, but there's a float in between your hook and your swivel or whatever.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and that
Interesting.
yeah that is the rig to use if you're in the kayak. Well,
Sorry.
Nah, it's okay. No,
and
you.
the reason why you have the float is you don't want your bait dragging in the mud or whatever. So the float's purpose is to hold it up. That way the fish comes up and grabs it.
I wish I could see what it looks like.
Yeah,
'Cause
Santee Cooper. I think it's named after a lake in South Carolina.
Mhm.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah, I'd like to try learning other species too. Like
You
another one
might
that
you might stop bass fishing after that.
oh,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know
You
if I'll
never
ever stop
know.
that.
Yes, yes, you will. And this is the thing. I'm telling you should check out Fishing Kit's channel. I mean, this guy he teaches me and he gives me some great pointers in regards to catfishing and everything. His
Yeah.
YouTube channel. I mean, Dude, you've been killing it on the catfish this year, at least just on the banks alone. But if you see his last year, I think last year you probably had one of your best catfishing kayak season ever, I think, right?
I
I
was
want to say,
kayak fishing like
yeah.
every weekend pretty much last from spring to fall. And then this year I haven't gone once yet. It's kind of a
See, I was gonna
bummer.
ask about that too. Like, what are the seasons for catfishing primarily? Like, what's your hot times to go out and catfish, and how do you locate them? Are they kind of all in the same area when you're fishing? Do you look for different spots? Uh,
I'd say there is no season, not for channel cats anyway, because
mhm.
with the flatheads, they kind of, I don't think hibernate. I don't think they hibernate. I don't think that's the word for it. But for channel cats, I catch
They
them
get
all
more
year.
lethargic or something during different seasons.
The flatheads, I think the actual term is brewmate, where they just like
Hmm.
kind of shut down and then they don't eat. They just sit in one spot until the temps get up to certain excuse me, until the water gets up to a certain temp. But
Yeah,
with the channel cats, I'll catch them all year, January to December.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
we catch them through the ice here.
Yeah, through the ice.
Oh yeah, you guys get ice out there, huh? Ice
Yeah.
fishing.
Yep.
See, you're gonna have to
Cool.
come visit us. We'll introduce you to some different types of fishing for sure. Because this guy, yeah, we catch him through the ice, catfishing, and then
That's
I don't.
cool. Ice fishing. Yeah, that definitely on the bucket list. Ice fishing and bow fishing are the two things I'd like to try. Bow fishing for like carp or gar would be cool.
All right. If you do make a trip out here, because our buddy that he's gonna go on a trip with us this weekend, because we have a trip that we're taking to go fishing here, and
Mhm.
he's probably he's the only guy that I know that is really good at bow fishing. He'll definitely be able to take you out and get you on some of those. But yeah, I mean this guy right here for sure. He really has gotten me at least. I wouldn't say I'm a beginner. I'm probably novice now, maybe at catfishing now. So he's helped me quite a bit just to really, because even those little tidbits, like he was
Yeah.
explaining of keeping that bait above, like he was saying, all the mud and the stuff to get those active
Mhm.
catfish. I mean, you don't really think about it because when I used to catfish, I just whatever cut bait, just throw it. It's on the
Yeah,
ground. You know what I'm
kind
saying?
of what I've tried in the past. I mean, I minuscule. My boyfriend, he's a Georgia native, and he of course catfishing. He's done that, so he teaches me a lot about fish. In fact, funny story. He's one of the reasons why I really got into fishing and everything. He's always kind of pushed me and stuff. Out here in Georgia, trying to motivate me and stuff to keep learning and things like that. So catfishing was one thing that he did try to take me to one time, and I'm like, man, catfish. I've never really heard of catching these things. How do you do it? And he showed me like cut bait, and not that like I think the first time I ever seen cut bait, I was like, oh no, not the poor fish you're cutting off. That's the Disney princess loving Bambi movie watching side of me. It's like, oh, poor thing. Yeah, it's a little bit like catfish. I think, are they more into smells or something? Because I've noticed a lot of the baits are very like stinky.
Yeah, it's more smells, but
Smells,
um,
yeah,
I think there's kind of a misconception that the stinkier the better. For
yeah,
me, I think the fresher the better. Like I'd rather use let's say I catch, I don't know what's legal in Georgia or not, but in Iowa we catch a bluegill or a crappie, cut it up, use it as bait if we harvested the fish legally.
yeah.
But I'd rather use that versus I know some people on Facebook and stuff, oh, you gotta take shrimp, throw garlic powder, leave it out in the sun for a week
That's some,
till
yeah, stuff I've seen. Like they have like dip stuff, like the smelly dipping, garlicky. What you
yeah,
you dip your baits in it, and it's very pungent or something. I've seen those YouTube videos here and there. And I follow, so I'm on TikTok too, and I do follow some catfishers as well. But yeah, it'd be definitely really cool to kind of try a different species out because, when you kind of, you'll never really learn everything in fishing. I mean, let's be honest, it's so broad. You talk to more people, the more you realize you don't know. But catching different species of fish is always fun because you can kind of master, catching. These are all tools under your belt. And okay, I gotta say, there's also something fascinating about just learning, these kind of skills as well. As they're almost like survival skills. Like I try to explain that to people. Like this is like human nature in play. we're designed to survive. If we don't have technology and we're going through an apocalypse or something, like, we're down to fishing, right? And so who are those people coming to? They're coming to us. So if you can learn how to catch different species of fish and get good at kind of generally understanding different attitudes and like how to rig them,
So
I think well-rounded fishing is good.
Super funny you say that, because my kids and my wife, well, not my kid, my wife goes, dude, you suck. So my wife says we have to adopt Kit because he's the only one who will be able to feed my family. Because my wife's like, dude, you can't catch shit, man. Because sometimes I go out there and can't catch shit and they can't feed the kids, and she's like, all right, go call Kit, man. What is he doing? I'm like,
yeah, see, like, I'm lucky. My boyfriend, he's the survival guy. Like, he does hunting, fishing. He's the Georgia boy native. Like, I'm very glad I have him, at least, because he's very smart at those things. But I think that's a very attractive trait just in human nature. It's at the end of the day, I grew up in the city. I grew up Los Angeles. I was the only one really in Los Angeles wearing camo for fun. Ever think camo would make you stand out? Yeah, it's in California, it does. And, it surprises me now, like coming out here in Georgia and just everyone having those basic, like almost basic survival skills of just knowing nature, respecting nature, and also harvesting the fruits of nature, like catching fish and eating it, and going deer hunting and harvesting venison. It's a beautiful thing. And it's, I almost feel like there's an empowering, a very empowering, almost a spiritual feeling of being human in your own element,
For sure.
And it's really refreshing. And I think that's part of the reason why I love fishing, just as like a soul healer. And like, I won't get into detail, but I've been through some pretty significant trials in my life, in the past last year. And, I'm also a nurse, and then COVID hit. California was really hard because you're the first state to get shut down. And so, you're going through a lot of, emotional stress, and you kind of need to like, I don't know if anyone's ever been there, but I know everyone's been there at some point in time, but you kind of need some sort of a hope, when everything seems kind of like it's falling apart. You need something to look into to make you feel happy and complete and fulfilled, whatever that may be. And when I looked at the rod for the first time and said, I want to get good at this, I meant it. I want to learn it. And that was my challenge. And when I went to the lake for the first time and I saw the water and I saw the sunrise over the lake, and I was alone, but I was completely at peace. And it was the first time in a long time where I felt like it really didn't matter what was going on out there. Just here, I got George Strait on. He's like my music choice. George Strait on. I got a big thing of beef jerky, and I'm alone on this dock watching the sunset or the sunrise. And I really don't think there's anything that has ever made me feel so alive in my life. I'll be honest with you. And I think that's why I do it. For me, I think it gives back to me. And then that's a whole different level. Like when people are like, oh, I can never catch a fish, I hate fishing. I'm like, looking at it all wrong. There's so much more to that. But from a very deeper level, like that is what really like instilled that deep passion of appreciation and respect for the sport. And like, I'll be honest, being like a female angler in the fishing world, like I want to carry myself like respectfully to my audience, because I want to be respectful about the sport, and I want to show them what the sport has done for me. And it's kind of a male dominant sport, and so when you see a woman doing it, I know a lot of people are kind of like looking, what is she going to do next? And I want to be myself, and I want to show them what it means to me, but respectfully, I want people of all ages to be able to watch my channel, and children look at me and go, hey dad, I want to go fishing, take me fishing, like that. And I've had people reach out to me on like TikTok, like older, because I play a lot of old music on my pages with my fishing videos, and they say like, I have a feeling of nostalgia when I watch these videos, because it makes me remember times I went with my dad or my grandfather. We used to listen to Hank Williams on the lake, or we used to listen to Merle Haggard or something, and just older country and things like that. And I think that part gives back. And I've only met good people in the fishing community, thank goodness. I mean, I've really just been so blessed to be in this community with people that are so, I'd say fishing community, hands down, is the most patient community you can meet with people. If you are able to sit in a lake for 10 hours and not catch a fish and still have fun, you are a patient soul, my friend. And I've noticed that the fishing community is incredibly patient. You know, they want to give back and teach and learn and stuff. And like, that's one of the fulfilling things about fishing. I mean, am I right?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I can respect that for sure. No, look, I have 4 daughters. They're 9 and under, and I take my kids fishing all the time. Ask this guy. I take them, even though I'm not that great at it, but they love it. My 2 oldest love it. You know what I'm saying? And then they love ice fishing like no other. It's crazy. So, no, I can definitely respect that. And then when you say George Strait, I was like, holy shit. Because I was playing your TikTok the other day, and then my wife's like, what are you listening to? Because I am big into country. I love Garth Brooks. I'm huge. I love Tracy Lawrence. I love the old school cats in regards to country music. So I can definitely understand in regards to playing a little bit of George Strait for sure. So it's kind of cool to have that, you know, and then the aspect of having you as a female. That's what I was actually really wanted to ask you too, is that how has that been? Because you have a pretty good following in regards to TikTok, Instagram, and everything. How has that been in regards of you being a female? Because there's different types of, because we've had several females on our podcast and everything, and just really kind of picking their brains, just kind of see where they come from, and it helps me so I can honestly, how do I take my kids out fishing better and teach them better and stuff, and really introduce them to the sport.
I'd say, like, as a female, I mean, this doesn't go to say for all female anglers. Everyone's different. Everyone has their own style, and everyone's a different person. But for me, I try to keep my stuff incredibly family friendly, clean, and respectable, and wholesome. Like, I want to bring back like the old fashioned attributes of, just down to earth, fun, loving person who happens to be a female who loves fishing. Mm-hmm. And I want to kind of change, like, just because you're a girl, doesn't mean you can't do a sport that's a male dominant sport, and doesn't mean you like don't use that as something to, I don't know, like be proud of or try to stand out more. Like, be humble about it. I just happen to be a girl who loves to fish, and I want to be a role model for girls one day. I know Christine Fisher is a huge role model to me. I look up to her. I think twice about the things I post. I'll be honest. The music I post behind my videos, the even sometimes the clothes I wear in my pictures, I'll think twice about it. I'll think, who do I really appreciate? Christine Fisher. Could I see her doing that? Maybe not, and if I'm thinking or second guessing, I know if it's out there, it's out there. That's the internet. And you have to always think twice about what you post, what you say. Everything has to be at least something you can be okay with 5 to 10 years later, that if it ever comes up, you won't regret ever putting it out there or saying it. And so I always think about that when I put my content out. And I have accountability. So I do have people that keep me accountable for that, because my motto is, I have a particular dress code for myself when I put myself out there catching fish, and that's my my comfort level of being out on the internet doing what I do in a male dominant sport. And my boyfriend helps me keep that accountable. I'll ask him before I post something, what do you think about this? And I'll be honest, like, I grew up in a very sheltered home. I grew up very conservative and sheltered and stuff. And so I sometimes miss like some of the subliminal, some of the things that may mean like something else. And so I'll be like, oh, this is a good song. And he'll be like, do you know what that means? I'm like, no. And like, I think, I'm glad I have that accountability. And I think, just being conscientious about what you're putting out there, and not just putting out there emotionally. And, if I'm not in a good place, like if I'm having, a bad day, or if I'm not in a good place mentally, I'm not going to go on the internet and post things, because you have to also remember, you have to be proud of what you put out there. You have to be, nothing emotional, or be respectful. And sorry, dog.
All good. Don't worry about it.
But I mean, that's for me. And I know everyone else, every other woman has their own style, and there's no judgment there or anything like that.
Sure.
But particularly for me, and what I would like to put out there on this platform is, I want to show, I guess, the fishing community that I can tuck my braid away and I can fish just as good as anyone else out there. And being a girl isn't a card for me. I'm not saying, look at me, I have hair, I'm a girl. It's just I happen to be a girl and I love to fish, and I just want to show other women out there, you know, you don't have to just be into fashion. You don't have to just be into this, just because society tells you to like that and society tells you to look like this. I mean, put on a dirty pair of jeans and a baggy shirt and jump out on the lake and do that, or do something you love, do something you've always kind of thought about doing and you didn't really do it because no one else wanted to do it with you. Do what you want to do and try to be great at it. And one thing I heard somebody say recently is follow your dreams, chase your dreams, follow your passion, and the right people will follow you. It doesn't even matter. As long as you're doing that and you're happy, the right people will follow you. And that's kind of been my motto on Instagram. In fact, I thought about deleting some of my embarrassing pictures in the past. Like my very first picture on Instagram is me holding a bass with gloves and my Trader Joe's tackle bag and my duct tape rod in the background. My very first picture on Instagram. Don't believe me? You can scroll back to it. And then I have another picture where I didn't know when I fished in a kayak that it's not etiquette to have a fish on a strainer if you're not planning on taking it and eating it. I didn't know that. Nobody taught me that. I'm self-taught. So I didn't know that etiquette. So posting a picture online, I got a lot of grief for it. I had someone like say bad words to me in a message once about it. Like I couldn't believe, like some people are very emotional online, but I thought about deleting the picture, but I want to keep it on there because I want to be real. I've evolved, I've learned, and everyone else is going to learn too. I just had to learn and I put it out there, and this is me learning from it.
And this is the reason why we, I mean, at least I enjoy this podcast. You would never have been able to get that out because a lot of people would go look at your social media, whatever you post, and they'd be like, what the hell was she doing? But they didn't understand that, number one, you just started fishing and probably didn't know any better. And like you just said, you just evolved. And that's why I love the podcast platform is that people get an opportunity to really, tell them what you went through. Like, hey, I learned. I had no idea. And you're right. Yeah. Social media can have some cruel people. It's a little rough. I get that.
But be transparent about it. Be transparent about your challenges and what you've accomplished, because somebody might be intimidated to try something because they feel like everyone's just great at it. But I can go back and say, look at my Instagram. I was afraid to touch a fish when I first started this thing. And, now I love it. And it doesn't matter where you start and how you start. And even if you start alone and you're learning on YouTube, like me, I didn't have my dad to go take me fishing. My dad wasn't into fishing. My grandfather, so I'm half Korean. My Korean grandfather, I call my Korean grandfather. He's a big fisherman. He was a big fisherman in Korea, but I never really went fishing with him growing up. And I remember watching a lot of pictures of him and videos and stuff. And I always thought growing up, that would be so fun to do one day. And, I had an opportunity to do it. But I think that's one thing about social media is transparency and honesty about your imperfections and mistakes and owning it. That's huge. I wish more people were like less filtered about that kind of stuff, because I think people would be a little bit more real about who they are and what their struggles are, and can maybe even come tighter as a community, because that's how you build character. That's who you are, and that's how you learn. And I don't want anyone to ever look at me and go, she just has it all. I always tell people, whenever people ask me anything, I want them to know straight up, I'm still learning. I don't know all the answers, but this is my take on certain things, and I like to hear things from other people as well. And so far, the community of fishing, like that's kind of people I hear most from. The same kind of responses about everything is people kind of own the fact that you can never really learn it all. I think the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, and opens doors for more questions and more research and things like that.
So. No, I'm with you, because I never had that too. So I get grief once in a while from this guy or just some of my friends, because not once in a while, because like, dude, you should know better. But the thing was, like, I'm with you. I never had, my father never, long story short, but he never was able to really go fishing. So I never really got into fishing. I never had anybody take me fishing until I just went myself. And then, when I was probably in like high school or college, when I really went fishing, and I, and then I never really jumped into it and really honed in on trying to get better at it till probably the last 8, 9, maybe 10 years ago then. And then, like I said, I wanted to start this podcast. Like I kind of tricked him in, like, it'll be fun, dude. We'll just, whatever. But my real end game when I wanted to do this podcast was be able to get people on that can teach me to get better at fishing. And we started this podcast a little bit over 2 years ago. And I shit you not, if you go back and look at all our guests that we had, I mean, we've had some phenomenal guests that are beyond. So, I mean, in the fishing world, they have so much knowledge that I've gained so much from doing this podcast. And that's why I enjoy it so much. Yeah. And that's why I do it. And I enjoy it so much. And then I always do something stupid. Every time we do, when we go fishing, I always do something stupid, or I ask a stupid question. He's just like, dude, come on. But, I try to tell, I go, I don't know any better, so I'm going to ask a stupid question. So I do this podcast for those who, like you're just saying, who are getting to fishing or who don't want to ask that specific question because they're embarrassed to do it. I'll do it. I don't give a shit. I really do. And he knows. He goes, I don't care. I have enough confidence in myself that people are going to make, so whatever, dude. But I guarantee I may have helped somebody that didn't want to ask that question because they were embarrassed too.
Amen to that. Yeah.
So, and that's why,
I love that attitude and transparency, because a lot of people do feel that way. I feel like when I first started, and I know a lot of people who are looking into starting, because they send me little messages on Instagram, or they'll send me on TikTok, and I wish I was better at responding at some of them, because I do get sometimes I do get a little overwhelmed with a lot of them. But like looking at some of the questions that they ask, it almost seems like the way they front it versus, I don't really know a lot about it, and I'm I just noticed this and this and this, and I'm just trying to learn. Like, I'm trying to think of somebody asked me once. I think somebody tried to ask me what fluorocarbon was, and somebody asked me once what the difference between a bait caster and a spinning rod was. And like, I guess it is easy to, like Google it and things like that. But there's certain things that it's hard to kind of research on your own, and you kind of want to hear it from somebody else, like not just something basic, like what's the difference between something and something. Something I'm trying to learn is like searching for bass when there's structure, points, depth, pressure, high pressure lakes, a lot of different types of rain and weather changes, like on the spot. Where are the bass go spawn? Where are they? How do you find them? Where are you throwing? Are they really, really deep? Are they shallow? Are they mid? Are they swimming? Are they aggressive? Are they not? It's like, and I think, asking those questions even for people, or even admitting that you didn't know something and making a video about what you've learned is helpful for people too. I'll be honest with you. I just posted a video on TikTok about co-angling because I wanted to learn about co-angling. I'm thinking about expanding my horizons, networking, and just kind of going out there and learning new styles, because I've never had that. I've never had somebody go, give me these pointers and teach me how to fish. I want that. I want somebody to go with me and show me how to do it. And I think in a professional way, again, because, being a woman, like, I just want to do things in a little bit more of a professional setting. I don't want to be alone with a stranger man. Like, I want to have somebody in a professional setting, teaching me how to fish, because I'll be honest here. Like, you asked me earlier about what it's like being a female in fishing. There's a lot of disrespectful people on there. And I do sometimes, and that's why I'm kind of bad at the messages too. Is like, I do have to filter out some of the, the ones that are not so kind, or like, not so appropriate. And so that, that's unfortunate, but that's going to happen. And that's another reason why you just have to think twice about what you put out there, is, but yeah, so that, and I also feel a little bit more nervous to ask questions, just because sometimes I feel like I'm going to get judged, because whenever I tell somebody, like when I was at Academy once, looking for I was looking for a rod and reel combo, but I was looking for a particular speed in my reel. I was looking for like a 7:4:1 ratio reel, like a medium heavy rod, just kind of like your standard. And the guy came up to me and was like, "Are you lost?" Yeah. I was like, I know I look lost, but I'm not. And he's like, "What are you looking for, a Zebco?" And I'm like, "Actually, I'm looking for a medium heavy fast action tip with a 7:4:1 ratio reel. Is there something you have like that?" And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "I can show you a Zebco rod." I'm like, "Nah, it's okay."
So he didn't even know what you were talking about.
Yeah. But
Oh,
it's especially when I lived in LA and I was in the fishing aisle. I think sometimes they're like, "What are you doing here?" But yeah, you will get that. Just again, but I'm not trying to impress the community. I'm not trying to prove to anyone that I am, somebody who is in the fishing community. At the end of the day, you know, I'm secure in knowing that they're gonna think that, and I just need to know where my rods are.
yeah. No, hey,
you know?
he prejudged you, and that's just the way it goes. Like you said, it is what it is. But like you said, though, man,
But immediately, when they realize that you are just somebody who loves fishing and
yeah,
a respectful, like it becomes like a very, oh wow, let's tell me, like, how did you even get into it? I didn't even know. And then it becomes actually a beautiful thing because then you get to talk about it with somebody. But
yeah,
yeah, I had a couple encounters, but you're gonna have that anywhere. That's the thing.
very true.
It doesn't even matter.
And that does drive me nuts though. When okay, so I see a lot of people do posts, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever the case may be. So they make fun of people who are fishing who probably don't know what they're doing here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of doing that, why don't you just go there and help them out? Maybe like you just said, they're just learning.
Mhm.
But that's the thing about social media. Like people want to show off that they can make fun of somebody. You know what I mean? It really true though. People because they'll probably get more views and they're like, yeah, I'm making fun of him. I'm like, dude, just go help him. Like maybe he
Yeah.
doesn't know that this is how you're supposed to tie that specific knot or this is how you cast a
One
certain
time I
way.
asked what a shaky head was when I first started fishing, and I got
Yeah.
into my TikTok, and I never heard of a shaky head before. I've never fished with it. No one around me has ever. I've never seen a YouTube video of it. And
Hmm.
so some guy was talking about shaky head, and then he actually posted a video tutorial to me about how to tie on a shaky head. So I made a reaction video to it because I thought that was really cool. And so I bought the stuff and I did the tutorial with him in my response video. And
Mm.
I was like, thanks for the tip. And I deleted the video because I almost deleted my TikTok because, I just kind of, yeah, I'm glad I did it, but I just deleted a bunch of my videos. I wish I didn't delete that one, but it was a really cool video. And the comments I got on that video was awesome. I had a lot of, Mocha, stop. I had a lot of people saying, wow, it's so cool that, people are helping each other, in a video. And it's cool to see people come together on, TikTok to do that.
Hmm.
That kind of response is cool to see on social media because we have the ability to reach out to people and teach and be that support. I mean, somebody who doesn't live around people that do fish, your only reliance is online, people that is your community, is your fishing fam. TikTok people, they call it fish talk, hashtag fish talk.
Hmm.
It's fishing
Mm.
TikTok.
There you
And
go.
and like there's a small community of people that is growing tremendously, but it almost seems like we all follow the same people.
Mm.
And the same people in all the different videos and the comments and things like that, which is cool. And that's what I love about the community online is we can build that social media platform of camaraderie,
All right. So I have
um,
a bunch of shaky hits. Can you repost that because I don't exactly know how to tie a shaky because
I have to find it if
all
it's
right.
stored somewhere in my other phone or
Because
something.
I have some shaky
I know, I'm
jig
so
heads.
disappointed about
Yeah.
that one. I
I
deleted that.
I have no idea on how to tie that because okay, so this is the thing. We're not huge into bass. I mean,
Yeah.
this guy, I mean, big into hybrid striped bass. We saw you be catching some hybrid stripe. That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
see?
Hybrids are fun. Yeah, I saw the picture. That's awesome. They're
Yeah.
fun to catch.
Yeah, they're probably my favorite fish to target. Uh, well, at least in Iowa, because Iowa's kind of like we have a little bit of everything, but we're also close enough to everywhere else where they just have like everything just gets bigger, or there's like a certain species that is, 3, 4 hours away that we don't have. But anyways, I'm kind of going off on a
No,
tangent
I
about
love it.
Iowa.
I love it.
But yeah, I saw that you were catching some hybrids in some of your Instagram videos. So what?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the hybrids?
Well, I've never really gone independently hybrid fishing. I actually was on a guide and it was a
Mhm.
birthday gift my boyfriend gave me because I've always wanted to catch a striper or a hybrid. And I don't know anything about catching them. And I know some people say trawling is really good to catch them. But I really wanted to learn. And I think one of the best ways to learn, and in a very safe environment to ask questions, because you're paying, so you're obligated to learn as much as you can in this time, is to do a guided tour. And I almost believe if you want to be good at anything fishing and you don't want to do like co-angling or something, guided tours. So I did. My boyfriend, he surprised me for my birthday in March, and we went, I think, in April, because we were trying to find a day to go. And this guy, he did use like live bait, but he did kind of explain what he also, I can't really remember too much exactly, but I do remember him saying trolling certain things for catching them is really good. But we were kind of in the river area. Oops, sorry. But it was fun. And I realized the funnest, I guess, place to catch these hybrid were in the shallow waters. So we were catching them deep. And then he said, if you want a different fight, let's go shallow and let's look for them. And so we did. And they fought so much differently in the shallow. I don't know what your experience is, but in the deep, they can only go straight down. So they go down, your rod goes down. But, once you're pulling them up, there's really nowhere they can go because you're right on top of them. But if you're shallow, they can go left, they can go right, they can pull you down a little bit more. They feel like they can try to get stuck in like structure and stuff. So the fight is actually so much more fun. So the rest of the time, I'm like, let's just stay shallow. I mean, I know we can catch them in the deep. It's actually easier, seem like, to catch them in deep, but in shallow is a little bit more search and find because they're under structure, they're kind of moving around, chasing bait fish and whatnot have you. But yeah, that was my experience, and I had a blast. We caught, I think, like 30 of them.
Wow.
We were like crazy, and almost like immediately you're putting your rod in the water, they'd bite, and you'd have that fun fight. And we had a few rods in the water, so some of them were going off at the same time. So we're like, I got that one, you get that one, you get that one over there. Let's bring them in, ready, fish on. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I want to do that again, but I want to do the night one. They have a nighttime guided tour for that. And I want to ask a little bit more questions on how we can catch them and, where to look for them at that time. And my boyfriend, he does have kids. I thought it'd be fun for him to bring his kids too, because there's nothing like watching kids fish. I've seen them fish. It touches my heart seeing the excitement they have when they're reeling in a fish. The patience part is hard, of course, I'm sure, but the excitement, you almost like live vicariously through them. It's like life is so amazing, and I love that. So we want to try to maybe take his kids fishing and stuff. But I had a blast. I'd love to get into that one as well. And on a kayak, I can't even imagine what that would be like on a kayak. Like those giant hybrids. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I haven't caught too many in the kayak, but man, it doesn't matter where I catch it. On the kayak, deep water, shallow water, on the river, doesn't matter where I'm at. Actually, we kind of have a running gag on our podcast and on my YouTube channel. We call it the secret bait for hybrid striped bass or wipers. Do you think you could guess what that secret bait is?
Is it shad or like? Oh,
I mean, shad works.
yeah. I don't know. What is it?
Shad is their natural forage in most fisheries, but it's gonna be we might bleep this out later because we kind of want to keep it going, but
I'm really listening now.
Night crawlers, believe it or not.
No way.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that wouldn't bite a night crawler.
Yeah, but normally, when you think of these hybrid bass, they're like chasing down baits. I don't know if you ever seen them schooled up, busting bait fish on top.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so that's normally what people think of when they think of these hybrid striped bass. But dragging a crawler on the bottom is surprisingly effective.
That's cool. That's really cool. I have to try that one too, night crawler.
The problem with night crawlers is, like you said, you can catch anything. So if something else gets to it before that wiper does, you might have a lot of bycatch. But for some reason, they just once they get tuned in to that night crawler bite. One day I had three tubs of worms. Ran out of worms because they were biting that good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. and he introduced me to that. I think it was last year
That's cool.
and we were on the yak. So
Yeah.
we're on the kayak, and he's just like, all right. He told me just bring a bunch of worms. Just bring a bunch of worms. I'm like, all right, whatever, man. But we went and
You guys
kid
caught
you
a
not,
lot.
and kid you on the kayak. I'm like, what
That's
the hell?
awesome.
That was
Oh my gosh, I have a question. Do you guys eat them? You guys ever try cooking them up?
Yes.
I know people that do,
Okay.
and I heard they're pretty good. I've never tried it.
So this is the thing, because I mean, I'm pretty sure we have listeners and viewers who like, no, let them go and grow. Hey, love you guys. I get that, guys.
Yeah.
But yes, if you can eat certain ones, and they are good. And the only thing I mean, I wouldn't say the only thing, but I would highly recommend eating them fresh. Never freezer them. Don't ever put them in the freezer. They don't, though. In my opinion, yeah, they don't taste nearly as good when it's fresh. And then obviously, depending on how you want to cook them, I for wipers or hybrid striped bass, I never fillet. I never fillet them and eat. Yeah, I never fillet, and I never eat them like deep fat fried. It's
Interesting.
weird. I eat them baked, and I usually have it the traditional way that we do is like with herbs and stuff, and we bake it. And that's the way I eat it, or grill it, whatever case you want to be. But yeah, I never fillet, because to me, it's crappies and bluegills are made for that, and even catfish or walleyes you can do that. But to me, a hybrid striped bass, I never eat filleted and fried. It's just,
what's the texture like? Is it kind of fluffy and is it kind of light like white meat?
You ever have white bass?
Mm-mm. I'm trying to think of what I could compare it to. Well, actually, yes, I have had white bass. Yes, it's like a white, it's like white and fluffy, and it's not very fishy, right? It doesn't taste like
it, as long as you eat fresh. I mean, and then cut the. I mean, I think Fishing Kid's pretty good at this, but bleed them. If you catch them, if you're not going to eat it, bleed them out, and that helps tremendously in regards to the taste. And then
I'll just say they are no walleye, they are no crappie, they are no bluegill.
Agreed.
So for me, I throw most of mine back, just because I just want to see them grow big, because I want to catch them big.
I'll never forget the first time I filleted bluegill. I was curious. It was actually I think it was the first fish I caught. The first fish I ever caught was a bluegill. And I told myself, I'm going to eat it. The first one. And
nice.
I remember going to the lake, and I was watching a YouTube video, and I had my fillet knife. I don't even know if I was doing it right. I had about that much fillet, and it was not very good.
Well, think of it this way.
So I must have not done something with. I mean, I definitely didn't do something right, but
don't worry about that. This guy right here, he posted a video of, and he was trying to teach, or I wouldn't even say teach. He posted a video on TikTok of how to fillet a walleye. Okay, now. Granted, he knows how to fillet a walleye. Granted, he was doing it slowly, so in case people who don't know how to fillet a walleye, they can learn. And he was just instructing on how to do it and just being nice about it. Mm-hmm. Holy shit, did the freaking... he got beat up on his TikTok. He's like, why are you so slow? Dude, you should have done it this way. Why didn't you do it this way? It was insane, the comments. I'm like, wow. If you would have actually watched the video, he's just trying to, show people how to do it, how he does it, and talk through it. And then in case anybody, like I was just saying, that doesn't know, this is how you do it.
It's hard to rewind a video on YouTube when you got bloody, gutty fingers. Been there, done that. So I appreciate slow tutorials on these things. So a lot of times people are doing it as you're watching it. Mm-hmm. So if you're like, this is what it looks like. I can't remember what video I watched, but he was going fast, and bloody, gutty fingers. I was touching my phone trying to go backwards. What did he say?
See, and it's really true though. That's the one thing that I appreciate him when he posted. I was like, dude, it was awesome. It was a good video. I was like, he was just filleting a walleye. What was so bad about it? But holy cow, huh? It was good comments.
I'm gonna watch that video now.
You don't want to look at the comments.
People will be people. It doesn't matter.
We love TikTok, but it's TikToxic. He calls it TikToxic.
Yeah, I call it TikToxic because, man.
It's so easy to just spew, some pretty nasty things on there. And there are people, because it's easy to hide from it. No one can really keep you accountable on what you say when you have a hidden profile and no profile picture, and your username is username 54321 or something,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really get to me. To be honest, I don't give a shit, but I think it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
I'm not trying to build an audience on TikTok anyways. But man, it's just crazy. I think it's just because that video, I guess it kind of blew up because
it's on TikTok, you said?
Yeah, It's
yeah,
got like I haven't checked recently, but it had like 500,000 views or something.
cool.
Yeah, the people were rough on me.
People are people. I'm telling you, that's cool.
That is pretty fun.
My phone is probably about to die. It keeps popping up.
Okay.
I'll make sure.
Nope.
I'll probably have to wrap up on my end. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Fine.
We've been on for a little bit over an
I
hour.
think I'm on 3% right now because it starts kind of slowing down.
All right, Kit. You got anything else for her, for Emily before we
sorry.
cut out? No worries.
So if our audience wants to reach out to you or just want to learn more about you, where can they do that?
I would say definitely I have a link tree I attach on my Instagram and on my TikTok. I would say email's kind of my favorite way of responding. I will be honest, like on Instagram, I do get a lot of like spam messages. I don't know if you have that problem, but I get some weird spams on there, and it's hard to filter like who's real and who's not. And when you get a bunch of them and it's a lot of spam and it's a lot of inappropriate people, it's hard to go in and filter everything. And maybe there's something I can learn about filtering those stuff. But I say the serious people who want to reach out to me usually go on my email, and that's in my link tree.
Okay.
I don't really check messages on TikTok. I don't message really anyone on TikTok. And I'm pretty professional on my personal messaging, I guess. If somebody has a question, I'll answer it and things like that. But I don't really go too much back and forth unless it's something serious and they want to reach out. And I'll know they want to reach out if it's in an email because it's a little bit more different platform,
For sure. And then I'll put all Emily's links in regards to Instagram and her TikTok here on the notes and everything. So, no, huge thank you for just joining us, having fun, just talking a little bit of fishing, giving us a little bit down on the Georgia and California fishing. So that's kind of cool of you, Emily. I appreciate the time and everything. So, but other than that, you got to make a trip. Hopefully, you get a trip to make it to the Midwest. Let us know. We will take you out, whether shore fishing, whether kayak fishing. You let us, or ice
fishing.
Let us know.
Awesome. I'd love to do ice fishing. That's on my bucket for sure.
There you go. Our offer always for all of our guests. If you guys ever want to swing by and have a good time on the ice, you definitely will with us. I guarantee that. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry I had to cut it short. I just keep getting these little pop-ups. That's why I kept blacking out. It kept saying like,
yeah.
I don't know if it's updated, but my phone battery is so bad. So it kept saying like 10%, 20%, 20%, 10%, and then now it's like flashing and it's getting slow. I don't want to just all of a sudden disappear on the screen. So
all good. No worries at all. Other than that, guys, to all our listeners, go get this guy up to 2,000 subs on his YouTube. Get Fishing Kid up there. Go check us out. Make sure you guys share the podcast episode. Let everybody check out the greatest underground fishing podcast out there. So just to give a heads up, Beer Fish Fanatics, guys. But other than that, guys, appreciate everybody listening. Till next time.
Thank you. Have a good night.